Consistent daily action. Not worrying about perfection, but making small progressive improvements. I get fixated on the outcome and the result, and sometimes overwhelmed by the fact that I have this perfectionist mindset that I developed as a child, and something that I've learned to live with and work through and be more aware of. And I put so much pressure on myself. I know that. We're all our own worst critics, but it's about how do we become our biggest fans. And I think in 2025 that's something of growth for myself, and trying to continually send love inwards for myself and everything I've achieved. Definitely been a big few years of growth and development and healing, and 2025 for me is around just inviting more love and joy into my world, and learning to enjoy the process more. Not to just grind away, but also to find time for self, to celebrate the wins and enjoy the journey. And yeah, life's good. My life is amazing. Celebrating that, celebrating where I'm currently and where I'm going. It can be nerve-wracking, it can be beautiful, it can be magical. With my YouTube, I'm just continually improving. With my Instagram, it's like just keep showing up, keep doing. It won't happen overnight. I'm doing just little improvements. This is another one, like shooting on the A7 is crazy. I love actually talking to the camera more than looking at a phone. It makes it feel more real and authentic, and talking into the lens. Seeing the little improvements brings me fulfillment each time I add something in, another layer, whether that's working on audio or editing or just trying to provide quality. That's one of my things that I'm striving towards. It's not just settling for the average, and trying to be a bit more unique and stand out from the crowd. And I love quality. I love watching quality footage. I don't know, I'm capable of producing the same. I've been doing some FPV drone, which is like, FPV is it's the close, I've always been in, I think I was speaking to it on the weekend with someone, and it's like, what is it about FPV? A lot of people don't like, it's trying to differentiate between drones and what they do, and then first person view FPV. So having my drone here, the Flyfish Valador 2, this is the dead cat version. I had the freestyle before, but I won't go into the detail of that. I'll just simply explain what the question was around, like drones and what I'm doing with them. For me, I was always interested in aviation as a child, and flew remote control planes and had cars, and they just brought me so much fulfillment and joy and challenged me, and I learned some really amazing skills as well. I was already reflecting this morning, telling someone it's the skills I learned as a child building remote control cars are still applicable today. Like, I built this one from scratch. I mean, like, it comes as a kit, but all the motors and the soldering and the wiring and that all, I did myself and built that up. The skills I learnt to do that, I learnt as a child, like at primary school age, and they're still applicable to this day, and you don't forget it, which is pretty cool. It reminds me of my childhood and some great memories, and I thoroughly enjoy the actual build process. It's therapeutic, and to to actually fly something that you've built is pretty cool. My journey with FPV has been, I'll just like expand on what FPV is. So like a lot of people know of the DJI products. There, I would say the most common within the drone industry. They're used by people. You can buy them at JB Hi-Fi, any retailer online. You don't need a license. They're used for commercial aspects. They're used for industry like filmmaking. So they're amazing products. I think they're a Chinese-based company. They're really good, like really quality. The tech in those is fascinating. Like I bought a Mavic Pro probably it'd be like at least 6 years ago, and that thing for its time was pretty incredible, and a lot of that technology is still relevant today. They just add bits and pieces and sensors and tracking, and but yeah, so the DJI products are, the drones will actually, they pretty much fly themselves. They're so easy to fly. So the computer software inside of the drone is controlling it. The GPS knows where in space the drone actually sits. They have sensors for taking off and landing, so they have spatial awareness. They can pretty much, you press a button and they take off, and they'll just hover there without any control inputs. You can use external software to fly them. Like they'll just automate processes. In Australia, someone needs to be in control of that drone at all times, as if the automation process or if a linkage drops out, you don't want a object flying in space that's uncontrolled. So someone still needs to be monitoring it at all times. I won't go into the detail of that. I have done the remote pilot license in Australia, which allows you to fly commercially, but I won't expand on that. So FPV within that, so just on the DJI stuff, within the flying software, so a DJI drone will track along an axis, so like a horizontally, and it can track vertically, and then like it can yaw and slightly roll within that space to maneuver itself. But when you're giving it control inputs, you're telling the drone, hey, I'm here, I want to get to there. So pushing the stick forward will pitch the drone forward like this. I should actually have my DJI drone with similar. So your control inputs, if you push forward on the stick, is pitching it forward, and then when you release, it will just come and sit in that position. If you take your hands off the stick, that will just stop in that position. You can also roll the drone and yaw it as well. So that's the gist of the DJI stuff. When they have the software inside of it will tell it when the battery's low and when you need to return to home. Just keeping track of time. So they're quite intelligent, the software, the drones, like they're so capable. I've had a couple of DJI minis. I got the Mini 3 at the moment, and what that thing can do and how it, like, for the size of it, the weather and wind that it can fly in is pretty incredible. Got some awesome shots just over the years. Photos, videos, some cool stuff the other day with following some dolphins. So that's the conventional drone, I guess you call. This is a FPV, so it's a first person view. So when you are flying this, you're wearing goggles, so it's the closest you can get to flight. It's like being a bird. So the thing with FPV and what makes it so difficult is that the drone is not linked to any axis within space, and they don't typically know where they are in regards to the atmosphere, the earth, they're just flying in open space, so it doesn't have sensors that control the landing and takeoff of the drone. So the minute that you start the engines and arm the drone, you're under full control. So every input you do maneuvers it within space. So that's where it's like flying a helicopter. That's where there's so much skill within flying these. So for myself and most people, you'll spend a lot of time in a sim just learning to fly first before you actually fly one of these. I guess it's possible, but if you got one of these out of the box or like built it to this size and then built it to this spec, an FPV, and you just tried flying it, like you would crash so many times. Even in the sim, like it gives you that ability to crash and just reset. So for myself, I followed a course, Josh Bardwell's course. He's like the OG of FPV. His knowledge is astounding. I just followed his course online. So I did 10 hours of flying, possibly more, in a sim just to get to a point where I could hover one of these and fly around. So I first flew over in Canada. I took a drone over there in July of last year, and I was flying about 2 battery packs a day for a while, getting up some skill. Long story short, I lost my first one. I got overconfident, flew it in this open area, got disorientated, couldn't find home, lost the drone. Is what it is. Some big lessons and learnings around that, but you just keep moving forward. It's taken me a few months, got this back in the air. It's been a low priority, but part of this year doing things that I really enjoy is spending more time flying this thing. So put a few packs through it the last few days, finding your feet again. Like I just had a bit of a fly in the sim and then have taken it out. I've done 3 days of flying, so 6 battery packs or so, 5 or 6 packs. Takes you a bit to find your feet and your confidence again, but I think one of the best things is actually flying them. You can't, although the sims are so realistic, there's just something about flying in real life. You don't have that. It's like gambling on online casino. Like you're playing with false money that doesn't exist. When you got the FPV, it's like if I stuff around, I'm going to crash this. I'm either going to lose it or it's going to cost me money to replace it or replace broken parts on it. So you definitely feel that when you're flying. There's something about the gravity characteristics. I find especially when you are, say like doing a banked turn and sliding and then coming quite steep into it, the actual feeling of the gravity is like you can't fully feel it. Like it is different. It's hard to explain, but there's just this like, it takes it to another level of the connection between you and what you're actually flying. I think the crazy thing with FPV is the fact that you just keeping track of time here. My watch keeps. Yeah, the thing I wanted to talk to with FPV is you don't actually know the difference between what is reality. Your mind does not know what is fake or what is real. So when you're flying this, like you're wearing the goggles and you're standing in a fixed position, but you feel like you're in it, and you can get nauseous flying. And I was doing some rolls and stuff yesterday, and I think it's when it's almost like fake G-forces. You feel like you're pulling out of a steep dive and giving it power, and there's like this feeling of like you're on a roller coaster, and it's so crazy. Like it's no different to like being in a horror movie in the context of like your mind thinks you're in it. That's why you get these feelings of like fear and stuff come up, and it's like imagination. It's like dreams. Your mind doesn't know the difference between fake and reality, and the FPV is the same. Like after a bit, you actually like you can feel nauseous and stuff, and it's pretty cool. Like just to experience that. I think sometimes the speed of them too is pretty crazy. Like just feels like you're cruising around like a bird. You can, a lot of the time, like yesterday I was looking at tracking the speed on it, and I was sitting at like 65 kilometers an hour flying in and out of some trees and stuff, and just like, whoa, just it feels like you're just cruising, but you're actually hooking along. I think FPV is the thing that tested me really with this is the programming of the software on it. Betaflight's the one that I think most people use. So Betaflight is the software that just allows all the electronic speed controller and the DJI Air unit for the video linkage and the motors and that, and GPS, it allows them all to just talk to each other. And it's not my strength, that's for sure. This is so many times where I've like wanted to give up and just friggin', it's not the drone, but the Betaflight is just like, oh, it tests my patience. I've had to like call in some experts and other people to help me out with it, but I know the basics of it, but every time this drone's slightly different to the last one, and it took me, I finally got the last one going. One wire was the difference between it going and it not, and then I had to go through that process again, different hurdles last time. But that's FPV. If you have any questions about it, just shoot me a comment. I'll try the best. My ebook is out at the moment. I released that a few weeks ago. If you want to learn more about my lifestyle, my journey, have a laugh at my expense, some wisdom, then check that out. Peace. Like and subscribe.